Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
All right, guys, this is it. The episode we've all been waiting for. Number 1, the 90th installment of the 49ers roster countdown series. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to be seeing Trey Lance highlights. We're going to be background. We're going to hear from Trey. We got all kinds of goodies in this episode, so buckle up, baby. It's Trey time. The number 1 player and the most important for the 2022 49ers season. I didn't have them one when we started this list. I had the all-pro players ahead of them. I got on with our Patreon subscribers on our Zoom session, and they let me have it, and I buckled under pressure, and they're right. There's nobody that holds a bigger sway on the 49ers season than Trey Lance, and he's incredible. He's very easy to root for. He's exciting. He's electric, all those different things. So we're going to go through everything there ever was about Trey Lance, and, you know, I've been firmly planted on the Trey Lance bandwagon forever. Here is a copy of, I think this was one drunken night, I think 5 months before the draft, December 13th is the timestamp on it, 2020. I tweeted out, I'm calling it right now. The 49ers will draft Trey Lance this year, and I got it right, which was awesome. But the reasons why I got it right, I think, are what's important. And that's what we're going to try to detail with where the 49ers were, where they are with him, and where they are moving forward. Now, as we go through this, yes, we are going to be watching a considerable amount of film. I put this up on Patreon. Every single pass attempt for Trey Lance in 2021. This is every single one. All of them. And if you're sitting there saying like, oh man, it's such a tiny screen, that is available on Patreon if you want that. I think we have maybe 7 or 8 different breakdowns on Trey Lance over there. Just patreon.com/49ers Rush Podcast, or just Google Patreon and 49ers. And also, let me say this. If you have enjoyed this, let me know. Is this worth doing 90 episodes every single year? I think it is. I learned a lot. But yeah, I want to know if you're one of the people that watched a lot of these, please reach out, 49ers Rush Podcast at gmail.com. Let me know. Feedback is definitely appreciated. Now, who is Trey Lance? He wears number 5, which I like. 6'4", 224. He's a big cat. He's a big dude. Only 22 years old. Just turned 22 as well. Second youngest rostered quarterback in the entire NFL, and that's including 2022's draft class. Sam Howell's the only one that's younger than him. He's going into his second season. Now, went to Marshall Senior High School in Marshall, Minnesota, the Tigers, and he's interesting. Graduated in 2018, 3-year starter, played quarterback and strong safety under Coach Ballman, 3-time All-District performer, 2017 Minnesota Vikings All-State team, 2017 All-Star game. And if you look at his numbers in high school, 14 touchdowns while rushing for an additional 10. Also had 54 tackles, 3 interceptions on defense. He was a complete player. Got offered to play in the Big Ten. Iowa offered him as a linebacker. Rutgers offered him as a wide receiver. Another Minnesota, I think, offered him as a safety. That's the athletic ability that Trey Lance has, but he wanted to play QB. That's what he wanted to. He was a team captain in football and basketball. He's got some fun basketball plays out there, too, hitting some buzzer beaters and things like that. All-conference basketball player, Fellowship of Christian Athletes leader, all those things. He goes to North Dakota State, and we'll jump back more into stats and things in a second. Majored in strategic communication with a minor in business administration. Dude's intelligent as all get out. Son of Carlton and Angie Lance, which is awesome because his dad, Carlton, guess what, was on the 1994 49ers team. He didn't get any playing time. He was on during training camp, didn't make the roster, all those things. But guess who else was around that 1994 training camp with the 49ers? Kyle Shanahan. He was the ball boy for his dad, Mike Shanahan, on the sidelines. So it's destined, baby. I freaking love it. The dad has been with the organization, even though it was a short amount of time. Went on to play with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. But it's interesting. He also has a younger brother, Bryce Lance, who just joined the Bison football team, North Dakota State, and he's a wide receiver there. So dad played Southwest Minnesota State, joined the NFL, was with the Houston Oilers and 49ers before going to Saskatchewan, all those things, and also played in the World League with the London Monarchs. Man, I miss NFL World. That was some great football back in the day. Now, if we look at these awards, there's a lot. He received a lot of awards. Okay, so 2018, 2019, Mountain Valley Football Conference Honor Roll, 2019, Commissioner's Academic Excellence Award, 2019, Newcomer of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, All First Team 2019, Freshman of the Year 2019, Newcomer of the Year 2019, Offensive Player of the Year 2019, All Second Team AFCA, the 2019 All-American Second Team AP Poll, 2019 Walter Camp All-American First Team. I could keep going. There's like 20 of these. But some of the bigger ones, Phil Still, FCS Offensive Player of the Year, FCS 88 Offensive Player of the Year, National Performer of the Year, Jerry Rice Award winner. That is awesome. The best player in the FCS league, he won it. It's named after Jerry Rice. There's so many things that are just, this is destined, baby. He also won the Walter Payton Award winner. He's the first player to win both of those in the FCS, which is incredible. And of course, the national championship game, he was the most outstanding player. It just went out. Now, he's only played one full year at the college level, only 10 quarters in the NFL. But that 2019 season, it started all 16 games and just went ham. 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, led his team to a state title and added rushing to it as well. Rushed for over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards to be exact, and 14 touchdowns. So you're talking about somebody with a touchdown, 42 touchdowns to 0 turnovers. No wonder they won the championship. And that's what he brings. He can kind of do it all. Now, his freshman year, he redshirted 2018. Dressed for all 15 games, but redshirted. Made it into 2 games, but didn't really do much, but was, MVFC honor roll. Then you get into the year he stepped in, and he just went ham. I mean, it's just top freshman player, top everything, as I just read. And, he only got to play 1 game in 2020 because of COVID. The Mountain Valley, they decided to postpone their season to spring. And so he got to play 1 game, but then it was draft season. Like, he would have been at the combine and playing football games. It just didn't make any sense. And, I remember people were saying, oh, well, he opted out because, he didn't want to play. No, that wasn't it at all. That just wasn't it. Now, here's what's interesting to me. Okay, this is my draft write-up of Trey Lance before the 49ers drafted him. So I was starting doing draft work. 2020 was a bad year. And so I started doing draft work in December, early that year, because the 49ers had a bad year. These are my draft notes before the 49ers drafted him. Never lost a game and threw 1 interception. Looks like a tight end, only 20 years old whenever I started. His name was Smoke because of how the ball comes out. Very complex pro-style offense. Had a great understanding. Reads the entire field consistently. Second to third read consistently. Rocket arm. Can overthrow wide receivers at time. That's an issue. Strongest arm in the draft. His throwing motion's a little long and can wind up sometimes. We're still seeing that, unfortunately. Awareness is great and always knows where the chains are. So fluid out of the pocket, but game awareness off the charts. Calls all protections and audibles at the line of scrimmage. Great deep ball with touch. Reads entire field. Good eye discipline. So few mistakes. Just clean game after clean game. Strongest arm, best mobility, safest with the ball in the draft. On top of that, speed. He never ran the 40 or did any of the combine stuff. He didn't have to. GPS tracker had him at a 21.54 miles per hour on a 44-yard touchdown scramble versus James Madison. That was a championship game. That speed, 21.54 miles per hour, would have been the fastest quarterback time back in 2020. A couple people passed it this past year in the NFL, but he could just kind of do it all. So that was my draft write-up of him, and that's why I thought he fit. And because you could see he fit the scheme, he had experience in the scheme, made great decisions, protected the ball, as one of the interceptions just shows up on the highlight reel, right? He threw 2 interceptions last year. No doubt about it. But the 49ers, they moved up. They traded 3 first-rounders and a third to go get him. They loved this guy. From the start, they loved him. And everybody talked about Mac Jones and all that stuff. Just didn't make sense. I'm very glad it wasn't Mac Jones. Not that I have anything against him, but I wanted to go for ceiling in the top 3. If you're going to trade all that capital, you don't trade up for Jimmy G light version. You go get somebody that can do it all. And that it's been incredible. It's been fun watching everything that's coming around. And if you remember, let's go back through the season. He comes out and was the second string quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan was shifting back and forth. The very first touchdown pass last year, week 1 against the Lions, it was Trey Lance. He came in and threw a touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield. That was the first touchdown pass of the 49ers season. Now, after that, they decided, we're just going to roll with Jimmy. Then in week 4, Jimmy gets hurt. And he comes in the second half against the Seattle Seahawks and looked all right. He did pretty good. He went 9 of 18, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 41 yards on 7 carries. Now, the 49ers lost, but they were getting smoked that game. I think it was like 21-28 was the final score. But after that, they named him the starter for the following week against the Cardinals, and his finger was all jacked up. And he goes out there, completes 15 of 29 passes, 192 yards, rushed for 89 yards on 16 carries, and threw his first interception to Budda Baker. And they lost 10-17. Now, a couple things are important about that game. One, he wasn't in his, normal element because of his finger. And we found out later, we didn't know this, and everybody's screaming at their television, Kyle, why are you running this kid so much? You're going to get him killed. You're going to get him killed. Well, later in the offseason, we got a little bit more of an explanation. Here's Trey talking about it.
I mean, I could manage it, but it's a finger, so it's hard. I guess the process for me was it didn't get straight all the way. It was kind of the issue. So right away I couldn't squeeze, why I didn't throw after that preseason game. And then it's kind of as the season goes on, it kind of starts straightening more and more, and swelling goes down. And but it's just a thing that takes time.
So your throwing hand, you probably need to throw. And after that, guess what? He suffered a sprained knee during that game because he kept running the ball so much. I mean, it wasn't the best way to come in to the season, but that's all right. Then he goes out and wins a must-win game, which was so important against the Houston Texans. And, he threw for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and they won 23-7. That was huge because if you lost that game, you lost your tiebreaker to the Saints, and 49ers would not have made the playoffs if they didn't get that win. But it was the Texans, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, who cares? Remember, the Texans smoked the Chargers the week before by like 20 points and made Justin Herbert look awful. So the NFL is still the NFL. Now, that was going to kind of do it for his play time. That was about it. 10 quarters. That's really all that he got in. 2 quarters against the second half against the Seahawks. He started and played the whole game against Arizona. Played the whole game against Texans. And that's so he's 1-1 as a starter. That's it. He did make appearances in 6 games, but that's about the only meaningful thing that he accomplished. Now, if you look at his stats last year, I mean, it's interesting because he completed 41 of 71. That's only 57% completion percentage. Not great. 603 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's nothing really, really amazing. And he has not had the best training camp. It's been up and down. He's 22 years old. He's playing against the best defense in the NFL every single freaking day in practice. And there's been a lot of criticism because I think I would be remiss if we didn't touch on this a little bit. I love Jimmy Garoppolo. 49ers faithful should love Jimmy Garoppolo. He brought us out of the depths, out of the despair of some terrible times. But some fans hitch their wagons to players and their loyalty as such. And so because Jimmy G did so much for the 49ers, he built up a lot of fans. And he's gorgeous, let's be honest. And now some fans got pissed off because the new quarterback was coming in, and criticisms were high. He faced more scrutiny than any quarterback I could ever recall coming in that's a top 5 draft choice before he ever even got playing time. And the media jumped on that. Clickbait media, which unfortunately 49ers have a lot of. And that's okay. Trey addressed that. I love this clip from Trey. I think it shows his respect, his awareness, and how to handle the media. Some people aren't good at it, but I think this is kind of a testament to who Trey is as a person.
In the most respectful way possible. Like, it doesn't change how I feel about you guys as people, but I really don't necessarily, it's not my job to care what you guys say or anyone else on social media. I mean, for me, I care about what the guys in the locker room think and what my coaching staff thinks. And at the end of that, that's my job. You guys, unfortunately, aren't the ones that are making decisions for me or really have any effect on me in the most, again, respectful way possible. But I know everyone's got, strong opinions one way or the other. Like I said, I'm going to go out and try to prove people wrong, prove myself right. But I'm doing it for the guys in the locker room.
Kid's fun, man. He's fun to watch, fun to listen to. Just seems to have a good, clean, square head on his shoulders. So props to his parents because they did a hell of a job. Now, what does he need to do moving forward? He's the quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster as we're recording this, but they didn't even give up a playbook. He's not practicing with the team. It's Trey's team. Now, some people are like, well, the defense got, Jimmy to the Super Bowl. Therefore, if Trey doesn't get to the Super Bowl, he sucks and he's a bust. Guys, he's 22. Pump the brakes, man. That's not why you draft him. If I had to pick a year that the 49ers would, quote unquote, have the best Super Bowl odds, it'd be 2023 and 2024. He's going to have so many lumps this year, and it's going to come. That's what you have to go through, and that's not a bad thing. Does that mean the 49ers aren't making the playoffs or don't have a chance at the Super Bowl this year? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But even the great Patrick Mahomes, right? That's the closest kind of ramp up period that you can compare Trey Lance to. Is he similar to Mahomes in certain ways? Yeah. But again, Mahomes sat his first year, just like Trey. Stepped in, started his second year, just like Trey's about to. They lost the AFC Championship. Even though Mahomes was incredible, they won the Super Bowl, sadly, against the 49ers, his third year. And so we've got some bumps and bruises to go through. Now, my stat projections of Trey Lance. Here we go. I've been asked this probably more than anything else, and I keep refining and moving the numbers around. This is what my projections are for Trey Lance moving forward. 490 pass attempts, which would be on the lower end of what the 49ers have done the past 3 years. I think they're going to be even more run heavy. 323 completions, a 66% completion percentage, which if I had to change one thing, I'd bump that down a little bit, probably 63. But again, we're fighting over percentage points here. So if you put those numbers out, and a 7.4 yards per pass attempt, he did 8.5 last year, but I think that's going to regress down to the mean. 7.4 is incredible, by the way, but that's kind of what Trey is. He's a big play guy. That's what he brings. That's 3,626 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. That 2-to-1 touchdown ratio. That's my threshold that I care more about than any of these stats. Stay above the 2 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. Now, to put that in perspective, Jimmy threw 27 touchdowns 2019 and 13 interceptions 2019. So not a great year, but a good year, a good enough year to get you to the playoffs. We were the number 1 seed that year. A lot of it's defense and the running game. But that's all Trey has to do. Those aren't MVP numbers. Nothing's eye-popping there. That's just like, ooh, wow, that's incredible. 14 interceptions isn't good. But for a 22-year-old quarterback on this team, that's fine. Rushing stats, I don't want him to run the ball that much. Very little. 59 rushing attempts for 410 yards. That's a 6.9 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns. That's what I got him at. I don't want him running the ball very much. I know that he will. And you go back to that Cardinals game where he ran the ball 16 times. That was just, but we didn't know his finger was hurt, right? So that's what I got for Trey. I'm so pumped about this kid. He's very easy to root for. We've been talking about for a while, and man, it is crazy to finish this series, 90 episodes. And the goal was to get done before the first game of the preseason, and we made it just by an inch. But again, I want to say thank you to you guys, and more importantly, you know, it's the community. It's understanding the whole reason why we did this was the idea was everybody knows the studs. Most people don't know the back end guys. How do we increase awareness of this team and increase the fan experience during games? I promise you this preseason, you're going to have a lot more fun if you spent time with us on those, 70s, 80s, 90s players, because you know about them. You know their history. You know where they came from. We all know Trey Lance. But hopefully you learned a little bit extra during this journey. And again, please reach out to me on Twitter at JL_Chapman or email 49ersrushpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought. It was, did you enjoy the series? Or if you have other ideas for the future, we always would love to hear what you have. And man, hats off to two of the greatest people I know, freaking Josh and Anthony. You guys crushed this entire 90-man series. All the research, they did it all. Great job. And man, that's it. 90, we're done. We're not counting anything down anymore. It is football time, and I could not be more happier about it. Trey Lance, number 1. That was a fun journey. Appreciate it, guys. And until next time, stay strong, faithful.